All right. Hello. What's going on? Welcome to the first episode of Crime and UnWINEd with Aixa and Denise. Thank you for joining us today, and also thank you for all the love that you guys have shown on social media, with all the follows and the shares. We really appreciate it. So, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and ain't nothing to it but to get into it.
Let's do it. All right. Now, before we get into our crime, I'd like to introduce our wine. So our wine of the day comes from Nestle Vineyards. So they are located out of Lancaster County. Family-owned business, been in business for about 40 years or so. Go on their website. They have a long list of flavors, about 30 or more flavors. I've done some wine tasting at their vineyard at least twice. We've tried them.
Yep. They are located in the outlets in Lancaster. I think it's
Tanger Outlets. I don't know if they're located there. Were they located? They had a store? Or were they just doing tastings? They might be located there, but I know we definitely tried some of their wines there. Now this one here today is the Masquerade. So their Masquerade is a semi-sweet white wine made from French hybrid grapes and apples.
Pretty good.
So yep, semi-sweet for those who like it sweet. Those who don't like it too sweet, this might be the flavor for you.
Fill up your wine and salud.
Ooh, I got ahead of myself. Oh, that's really good.
It is really good.
I myself do prefer a sweet wine, but this one isn't too dry.
I know, I like it. I like it. If I'm I'm a sweet wine also, but if I'm gonna do a little different, would probably be my go-to because it's pretty
really
good.
It's really good. It's not overpowering sweet. You can't really taste a whole lot of sugar. It's really good.
Yeah.
I like this.
Good job, Missy.
Good job. I like it. All right.
Let's get into this guy.
Let's get into this crime. All right, so 4 victims in 4 days across 4 counties. So the year is 1995. Our culprits, we have Mark Spotz here. Now, he was born Valentine's Day, February 14th of 1971. Now, Mark had a rough upbringing. It seems like he was troubled early on, bouncing between homes to homes. I guess his life was full of abuse. He turned to crime early, became an arsonist as early as 15, burning down buildings and businesses. Now, Mark was 23 at the time of these murders here. Now, his co-culprit, his ride or die, is Christina Noland. Now, Miss Christina Noland, different upbringing. It seems as though she was a good girl from what they have said. No real criminal background. No history of crime. She pretty much did what she was supposed to do as a kid. There's no indication that she was troubled, not getting herself into trouble.
That's what her family was saying. She was a good kid.
Good kid. Yeah. Now she was 17 when they met. So they met through mutual friends at a party. Now, mind you, they like to compare these two to
Bonnie and Clyde.
Natural born killers per se. I mean, they met a week prior to the killings. I don't understand, I don't know. Everyone's different. I'm not sure what kind of connection they may have formed within that week.
And again, she's 17 years old.
Very impressionable.
Exactly.
I get it.
Exactly.
So they met a week before these killings began in a party through mutual friends.
So we can go ahead and get into victim number 1 would be, unfortunately, Dustin Spotz, which is his brother. So apparently they were at a party. This gathering was at the mother and stepfather's house. This was to kind of bring Christina Noland around their families and introduce her and have them do
little meet and greet.
Yeah, a little meet and greet. Yep. So at this gathering, it was Dustin and Mark, Dustin's fiance Doris, Christina Noland, girlfriend of Mark, of 1 week at this point. They had only met 1 week. Okay, so they had this little get together. At some point, Mark decides to go into the living room and take a nap. And throughout this nap, Doris's son Chucky, which was 13, I believe, boys being boys, he wanted to play a little prank on Mark, and he went and got his pet gerbil and he dangled it in front of him and was like, "Hey Mark, look at this." So I guess he did not take that very well. He became very upset, began to yell and cuss at little Chucky. So then Dustin, understandably, you know, that's his fiance's son, got up and defended Chucky.
Right.
And then at that point, Mark and Dustin got into a little bit of a heated argument. At some point, Dustin went and grabbed a butter knife, cut him or sliced him, Mark, on the back twice. And then Mark went upstairs, grabbed his 9mm, and shot Dustin 7 times. 7 times. Like, that blows my mind. 2 of which were fatal. It was 2 of the chest.
Gives a new meaning to sibling.
Oh my gosh. You know, it makes you wonder, like, what was your relationship growing up? Like, we know that the dynamics were, you know, they were troubled, you know, abusive. I'm not sure.
Stabilization.
No, they were from home to home. But even within themselves, like, how was that relationship? If you're so quick to
shoot your brother,
shoot and kill.
Oof.
So then, at that point, Mark would tell Doris, "Do not call the cops until I leave." Christina Noland, again, girlfriend of 1 week, went and helped pick up all the shell, all the casings, put them in her purse. They fled, and they were driven by their stepfather. And apparently they were dropped off at a friend's house, at which this would be the start of Mark's killing spree.
Oof. Oh man. So, driver of the vehicle. So it looks like Mark's stepfather drove them away from the house, drove them to the friend's house in Schuylkill County. Schuylkill, I'm gonna butcher that. I always do. Schuylkill County. Dropped them off. Said, want no parts. You know, you guys be on your way. Dropped them off at a friend's house. Now, Mark, Christina had, you know, nowhere to go, no car, no money. I guess they were looking around for vehicles to steal. Maybe they just didn't find any. Maybe they just weren't good at
doing what they wanted to do.
Stealing, you know, jumping these vehicles, but no luck. So Christina and Mark found their way to this Harris Mini Mart here. This store.
Do you know if it's still open?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'm gonna look into that. So they found their way to this Harris Mini Mart here. Now, June Olinger worked at this Mini Mart. Now, she was on her way to work to open the store. Drove up parking lot in her vehicle. Mark, Christina saw her pulling up.
Early morning, too.
5:30 a.m. Took advantage of that. Mark pulled out his 9mm, ordered Olinger into the passenger seat of her own vehicle. Christina jumped in the back. They took her car, 9mm in hand. Mark took all of Olinger's jewelry. They drove to a secluded location over a bridge. He demanded June Olinger get out of the car. Mark then shot Olinger in the back of the head. Shot her.
Yeah.
Just shot her in the back of the head and then kicked her body over this bridge down to the creek.
Like, it's crazy.
Took her car and fled the scene and just left her there. At this point, it looks like they took her vehicle over to this car wash, took all her belongings, took her purse, there was clothing, her wallet. They emptied her wallet, took the cash, and they disposed of her belongings in the car wash trash can.
But that's how they were identified.
Initially, well, that's how they got their faces. That's
Yeah.
how they knew it.
Yeah.
So the owner of the car wash was able to give this footage to police, and police now knew what these people looked like. But at this time, they only knew of Olinger.
Correct.
Oh, the one victim. They still didn't have a name to a face. They didn't know who they were. They just knew what they looked like.
And was it before Olinger or was it after Olinger that Christina changed her appearance?
It was after.
So it was after the brother.
Yes. No, so it was after Olinger. So
okay.
Yes. A woman walking across the bridge looked down and realized there was a woman laying down at the creek and called the police, and that's how they did find Olinger's body. So that's when they of course started looking. That's when they of course got the video from the car wash and were able to put a face to the name, realized they had her car. They drove the car Ohlinger's car down to the Maryland, Delaware area. They went down to the beaches, were walking the boardwalks. This is when Noland, she cut her hair, she dyed her hair. Early in the morning of February 1st, when they found Ohlinger, and killed Ohlinger. Now this, hours later, day later, February 2nd, driving up to York County.
Yep. So on February 2nd, it was just 70 miles away from where they had found June Ohlinger's body. A 41-year-old woman by the name of Penny Gunnett was found also dead under her car on the side of the road. Penny Gunnett was a manager of a local tax firm, and she had been shot in the head and ran over. So according to Gunnett's husband, she was also on her way to work when this happened. During the investigation, they had found defense wounds and gun residue on her hands, indicating that there was some sort of struggle.
She fought back?
Yeah, so I think that the struggle started in the car, and she was shot by Mark, and then thrown out of the car, and then ran over with her own car. Penny was known to the community as a loving mother, great wife, an active member in the community. And as with June, all of her personal belongings were missing.
Yeah, her clothing, her wallet, her purse.
Yep. So at this point, you know, you have two middle-aged women, both killed with a 9mm. Spotz took Gunnett's car, and Christina followed him in Ohlinger's car.
Yeah, this is what I'm not understanding. Why not just leave Ohlinger's car and
I don't know if they were afraid.
get into Gunnett's car?
If they were afraid that if they left it there, that their fingerprints would be on it, or I mean, I don't know what their thought process was. I really don't. Or maybe it ran out of gas. I don't know. I don't know, but it's weird. Like,
so at this point, yes, they had both vehicles. They had Ohlinger's car, which Christina was driving, and then Gunnett's car, which Mark was driving. Now, Christina didn't have a license.
No,
she didn't even know how to drive.
No, she did not.
So in her attempt to keep up with Mark, they lost each other. Like, she lost him. So it was
so she ditched Ohlinger's car.
Yes.
And it was found abandoned on the side of the road, and again, here we go. Cops were able to identify them by their fingerprints of Mark and Christina and June.
Yeah, so there were 3 sets of fingerprints in the vehicle that were found. Mark's, Christina's, and Ohlinger's. Now, these fingerprints were able to let the police put a name to a face. So they had the camera footage. They knew what they looked like. Now they knew who they were. So now they knew who they're looking for. Now, after finding Ohlinger's car, ditching Ohlinger's car, Christina Noland,
she flew to the cops.
Yeah, she walked her behind into the police station, and she told him everything.
Yeah,
she told him everything. Now, whether or not she did it to save her butt, whether or not she did it because she was actually really scared of Mark. Maybe she was really terrified of Mark. And this opportunity to, you know, get herself away from this situation and this person and find safety.
I mean, like think about it. She's 17.
Yeah.
Never had been in trouble before. She meets this guy. She probably thinks like, oh my God, you know, he's so cute. You know what I mean? And this is the first encounters that you have with this man. The first get together that you got. Well, no, not the first because they met at a party. But when you were introduced to his family, this man shot and killed his brother.
I would have been scared.
What? I thought I would have been like, peace.
I would
have been like, bye.
But she didn't leave. Maybe she
probably was
scared. Absolutely. I mean, that could be it. We never know. I mean, the only person that does know is Christina herself and God. But
so then after the 2 murders, 1 day apart in these neighboring counties, detectives did fear that they had a serial killer on their hands.
And it makes sense. I mean, same pattern. Same murder weapon.
Yep.
It only makes sense.
And at this point, I believe that it was on like all the news outlets. So not only are the detectives and, you know, Pennsylvania State Police are investigating, but now you have the community.
The residents.
You know, the community. They're like, what the hell? Like, am I gonna be next? Because that's what I would think.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So Christina told the police everything. She told them about Dustin. She told them about June Ohlinger. She told them about Gunnett. Told him about Gunnett. She told him everything. Now, while Christina was in police custody, Mark needed another car. he needed another car. So this leads us to victim number 4, Betty Amstutz. Now Betty Amstutz, we came to find out that Mark knew her from his childhood.
Yeah, she was his caseworker in his child's years for when he was moving from home to home.
Yeah, so Betty Amstut's body was found in the forest, in the woods, by some tree trimmers. Again, her car was missing, her personal belongings were missing. Now they were able to trace Betty's credit cards here and kind of put together a timeline of Mark and Betty. It seems as though Mark was able to get Betty to take some money out for him, withdraw some money from her account, buy him some clothes, even got a motel room.
Checked under her name.
So this is where they were able to find him. But
and know that at that point she was still alive.
Possibly.
So this woman is doing this out of the kindness of her heart because A, she knows him, you know, not even realize that this is going to be your demise. Like you are counting your...
That's horrible. No. They made their way to Betty's home looking for Betty initially here. They found her door half open, groceries half put away. So they knew right then and there Betty was actually taken from her home. Mark knew where she lived.
Yep.
So the difference between Betty and the other victims is he didn't randomly
choose
her, approach her, you know. He knew where to go look for her. You know, took her from her home, had her get him all these things, and then took her life. So it was at this motel that the police were able to find Mark. Found Mark here, this motel room that was again under Betty's name.
Had a little bit of a standoff with him.
He put up a little struggle here, but
he did. I mean, even went as far as to like threaten suicide. Which I'm honestly glad that he was too coward to do it, because now he's facing, you know, he's in a place where he will never ever...
Where he belongs.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So eventually they were able to get Mark in custody. Now, during their trial...
My guy, he thought he was going to represent himself.
So Christina Noland, she actually took a plea deal, you know, and agreed to testify against Mark. Now she did do some time. So she did 13 years in prison. They gave her, they sentenced her 12 to 20 years for Olinger and 6 to 30 years for Gunnett. She did 13 years in total, and she was actually released in 2008. Now, Mark, again, as we said, he tried to represent himself, be his own lawyer, and at one point he tried to blame everything on Christina. No, till this day, like he still like, oh, she did the shooting. Even Betty Amstutz, mind you, Christina was in police custody when Mark killed Betty, and he still tried to blame her for it. Now, this tactic obviously didn't work for him because he was given 3 death sentences.
Yep.
Still on death row till this day.
Yep. Where he belongs. You know, it's sad in how many family members this man, you know, like, changed their lives. All because of, I don't even know. I can't begin to, like, is he a psychopath? You know what I mean? Like, how do you determine, like, your thought process? Like, what was this guy thinking? From killing his brother to after that feeling the need. Well, I know why he did it, because he needed to get away and he needed to keep. It's like once you lie about something, you gotta keep lying to keep that story up. So I get that, but it's just, I don't know.
I mean, will we ever know? I mean, they're still, you know, trying to figure out and, you know, try to know and figure out how, you know, these serial killers think and what is it that triggers them. And again, there's that fight, that conflict, about nature versus nurture, but that's a conversation for another day. But I mean, we'll never know. I mean, unless you are one of them and can give us some insight on why or
I don't want to talk to no nigga. And if I'm gonna talk to you, it's gonna be behind the glass. Behind it. Well, there was something interesting between the killing sprees and the serial killer. I thought they were just under psycho killers. You know what I'm saying? But the difference is that in a killing spree, they'll kill back to back to back to back, right? A serial killer has the ability and can cool off. So he can kill and then he can go without doing it a year later. And he will continue to kill.
So is that their planning?
It's correct. Which they call it a cooling period.
Wow. Wow.
Exactly. Like what?
I mean, I guess when it comes to, you know, homicide and murder, there's different levels to it. I guess that's why they, you know, when going to court, obviously they get charged differently for the different crimes and the different ways that the crimes are committed. But at the end of the day, murder.
It's all the same shit. It's all the same. You literally changed, you know, lives of the people that they cared for. You killed daughters. You've killed wives. You killed
Fathers, sons,
fathers.
brothers.
Yeah. So it's crazy. It's crazy. I do want to like understand their process, and I get like a lot of it is because they're disconnected. They're disconnected to any type of emotion.
Do you think?
I think so. Unless the emotion is the thrill behind it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it differs from person
From
to
person to
person,
person, yeah.
case by case. But I mean,
Girl. Christy.
there's always going to be a case, and there's always going to be some information. So join us next time.
Yes! Thank you for joining us on our first episode. We enjoy, you know, reading up on these stories and stuff. So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you did have your wine. Make sure you do purchase your Neasley wine. It is a very good
Brand. They have flavors for everyone.
Yeah, dry, semi-sweet, sweet. And then don't forget to follow us on all of our social media. We got Facebook, Crime and UnWINEd. On Instagram, Crime and UnWINEd _.